Well, good morning, everyone. This is the fifth part of our series looking at the 10 Commandments. Just a few little housekeeping things. If you would like to get notifications, automatic notifications that is, about our content here at Sussex Street Christian Centre on our YouTube channel, then please press subscribe button and the bell button, and you will get automatic notifications as to when we upload new content, reflections, services and anything else we post. But yeah, let's get on with the reflection. So, honour your mother and father. That's what we're going to be looking at today. So honour your mother and father so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. This is an interesting commandment because depending on where you come from would depend on how you kind of interpret this. Now, in many cultures around the world, the value that's placed on this changes dramatically. In many cultures around the world, they value and they train people to honour others. Those from an older generation, parents and grandparents, they are taught from an early age to value and honour their elders, their parents, their grandparents, and elders of tribe or elders of religious institutions. Now, even adults show respect to their elders in these cultures. These values are still going strong in many Eastern cultures, no more so than in Asia, where great shame is placed on a family if the elders of that family, whether the parents, the grandparents, or the great-grandparents, for instance, the matriarch or the patriarch, are not taken care of. However, there's been a big shift, it seems, over the last 100 to 200 years in Western cultures, which has gone in the opposite direction. Prizing youth and running away from and possibly ignoring or denying and even despising old age. Elders are more and more disregarded as being outdated or disparaged as bothersome. And I'm sure you have witnessed this again and again in families, neighbourhoods, businesses, politics, but more concerningly, our church. Not just our church, but the church in general. The fifth commandment has never been more appropriate to challenge and call us to a counter-cultural movement to honour our parents, our elders, and by implication those who are from older generations. You see, the Hebrew verb translated here in this particular commandment as honour, I'm going to try and pronounce it, but it's spelled kebad, or kebed, sorry, that's my pronunciation, correct me if I'm wrong, is related to the adjective heavy. It's weighty, there's weight to it. It might be paraphrased here as give your father and mother the weight they deserve in your life. The opposite of this would be treating your parents lightly, ignoring them, minimizing them, or even mistreating them. So what it actually means by letting your parents be weighty in our lives depends on many factors. If we are minor children, honouring our parents includes obeying them. But this is not true during all stages of life. You may have come across this. If our parents, or grandparents, or great-grandparents, whoever it might be in our families, and are suffering. Let's take, for example, dementia. We might find that honouring them would involve actually disobeying them. Now, why do I say that? Well, what if they said not to take care of them? They don't need it. They're fine on their own. When you know, in your heart of hearts, and you know by what you have seen and you've witnessed, and there's evidence too, that it is the complete opposite. They need care. You will be, in effect, dishonouring their wishes, but it's for the right reasons. The amount of times I have heard that, and even from my own family experience, is staggering. Now, what about those people who have had parents who were so abusive that they need to keep a considerable distance from them? Nevertheless, the fifth commandment urges them to do this without scorn or mockery, but with godly grief and costly love. For most of us, honouring our parents means listening to them, respecting them, and loving them. It means continuing to remain in relationship with them, even if it happens over a long distance. And as our parents get older, the fifth commandment encourages us to care for them with deference and costly love. Sometimes we are forced into terribly confusing and trying situations when our parents are aging. We may not be at all sure what honouring them implies. But as an encouragement, through our attitudes and our approach and our love and our care for them, God will be glorified by our efforts to fulfill the fifth commandment, and he will bless us as we honour him through honouring our parents. So, a few questions to reflect on in light of our current situation as a people, as a nation, as a country, as a world. In what ways can we honour our parents in lockdown? Is there anything we can improve on with our behaviour, our attitude, our motives, anything that we can improve on after lockdown in how we honour our parents? And how might taking the fifth commandment seriously make a difference in your life? Not just in theirs, in those who we are honouring, but what difference would it make in yours? Not to make it about yourself, but what do you think the fruits could potentially be that grow from you honouring your parents? You see, when God issued this commandment to Moses on Mount Sinai, he demonstrated his sovereign plan for real relationships. Now, that was written by Don Wilton. And just as we are to honour the one who created us, So we are to honour those who were chosen to carry out God's plan for our creation, our father and mother. You see, in a world riddled with broken marriages and pieced together families, it is more important than ever to stop pointing fingers and start embracing God's command to honour each other. If you remember back to my first commandment, I spoke about how God's sovereign and God is the source of ethics and morality. Is that this respect, this honour, is to do something morally correct. To care is morally correct for those who have cared for you. Now, many of us, unfortunately, I am not blessed with being a father or a mother, but that's not going to happen for me personally. But I'm not in a position where I can have children. But many of you are fathers and mothers, either by blood or adoption. If we are caring for someone, or they us, we are to honour them. You see, God said above all else to love him and each other, and to love our neighbour as ourselves. We all know what it's like to be a child. Many of us know what it's like to be a parent, a caregiver. I believe this commandment was so important to God because we are so important to him. Family is important to God. We are his family. And when we honour our families, it's a direct reflection of how he loves us. Often dysfunctional and broken, but he loves us.